Well, hello and happy Saturday. Cynthia Gordon representing Whole, women helping others live empowered. Man, you know what? My God is so awesome. My God is so awesome. This week, we're going to talk a little bit about fear. Probably again, but again, whatever he gives me, you guys, I got to share. Now, let me just read. I'm going to try to stay on the page. Let's see how I do. This week has been just God has been using me to encourage. And boy, oh boy, if you know him, he will do everything he needs to do for his children. I've had to talk to someone about COVID and a person who is dealing with it. And what's so awesome about God is because I had COVID, I could talk, and I lived through it. I lived through having COVID. So when I'm speaking to someone and trying to make sure fear doesn't overtake them, I can speak from experience and with confidence. Fear is not from our Father, and yes, he does give us discernment and common sense. So, you know, a lot of times when you talk to people about anything, somebody who's broke can't really tell you how to get rich. Or at least you don't feel confident when you're talking to them. So years ago, I guess, I realized it's not all about me. Not even everything that you go through. So what I will say, and hope that you get while you're going through, it ain't even always about you. But again, as I said earlier, God will do what he needs to do to help his children. So since me, one of his children has gone through A, B, and C, it's up to me to allow God to use me for his next child that might be going through A, B, and C. Maybe that's part of my transparency video. Whatever. Hopefully you get it. But it's so much, I don't know, it carries more weight with someone to talk to someone who's gone through. I'm not telling you what I read, what I've seen on TV, but I can just share my experience. Now, we all know we experience things differently. So the way I experience something may not be the way you experience it, but it sure does help to talk to someone with some experience when you're going through whatever you're going through. Okay, I'm gonna get back on this page. So speaking with someone else who has some situations that need to be addressed that originally began years ago. And do you know early trauma left untreated will haunt you in your adult life? And sometimes you don't even know what causes some of your behaviors. Again, here comes fear. Afraid to admit the trauma, or sometimes you admit it or realize it was traumatic, but afraid to open up. Maybe it hurts too much. Maybe you're just afraid to deal with it. Yeah. Afraid to address the parties involved. And let me back up. Not all trauma or issues are molestation. Not all trauma comes from strangers. Not all abuse is physical. And boy, mental abuse may even be longer lasting. Any and all of the above could happen, and the fear of opening up about it It keeps you in bondage. Sometimes when things happen in your childhood, the adult you can't address it because you still feel like the child that it happened to. Jesus. I pray you open up to someone, and even if possible, address the person or people involved. And not to hurt them, not to argue about it. And let me just stop right there. If someone comes to you and tells you when you said, when you did, whatever it may be, it hurt them, please listen. Please listen. If you care about them at all, please listen. Guess what? Even if you don't care about them, listen, because maybe it'll help you with your behavior with people you do care about. Sidebar, freebie. If something hurts someone, it doesn't matter if you agree that it should hurt them. It doesn't matter if it would not have hurt you. If it hurt them, please listen. Technical difficulties. But please listen. Jesus. I pray you open up and even address the person involved. Don't be afraid. You're not a little boy or a little girl anymore. No one can punish you and send you to your room. They need to hear it. Now, again, some of these people or some of this trauma that may have happened, this fear that may have started when you were a child, you may not be able to go back and address them. But still, it could still haunt you. Let me get back on this page. Some of us have had parents, siblings, aunts, uncles, cousins, whomever that just talk to us badly, and we still shrink in their presence. God has not given us a spirit of fear. Some may say there's no need in bringing it up. Don't bring up old stuff. Well, I beg to differ. For anyone who is still feeling hurt, or maybe you just realize you are mirroring some bad behavior you saw when you were smaller, you do need to address, either with them or with a counselor, with someone you trust. The idea is that no longer can you be in bondage by fear, but you need to address and move forward. You need to address this fear that we have got to deal with it. And truly, I am here to continue to encourage someone who is dealing with something. Again, it might have started a childhood. It might be something you're afraid of right now. It might be anything. And let me tell you, again, God dealing with me. Why I have an issue with my own fear this morning? A lizard. Yes, a lizard. No, not a snake, Cynthia. A lizard. Small. But in dealing with my fear, I grabbed a broom and I swept him out of my front door. Screaming so loud, my neighbor had to call me and say, "Are you okay?" So yeah, these videos are for me too. Not a fear, not a childhood fear lasting from any abuse, but still some fears. And again, in full transparency, before my parents left here, I had some things I had to deal with both of them. And I thank God that I did. But again, sometimes we will have the need to deal with some things, and just the fear of the outcome, the fear of, I don't want to bring it up because I'm not trying to necessarily hurt the people that were involved, or some of that stuff still going on. And because we feel like with our aunts, uncles, people that are older than us, our parents too, we feel like that little boy or that little girl, we don't want to address it. Maybe we haven't realized just how much some trauma, some verbal abuse, some whatever betrayals that we had or felt as children are still showing up in our adult life. We need to address these things. We need to take that fear and look it dead in the face and say, I am an adult. Maybe we need to say, I will no longer allow people to treat me this way. Again, we talked about being a doormat as a Christian last week. We got to address it. We got to. Because again, the objective is that we move forward. I don't want you to take it as if, okay, I'm not afraid of this person anymore, so I'm going to tell them off. That's not the objective. But it is for us to get whole. It is for us to deal with our broken places. That fear has got to be resolved. Maybe you need to get a broom and sweep out that's making you afraid. And again, everything that we address, we can still address with love, kindness. But let me tell you what, the truth don't go out of style. If you address someone with the truth, even if they don't receive it as their truth, get it off of you. And don't be afraid of it anymore. But with love, kindness. And again, I say, counseling ain't taboo either. Address that thing, even with a stranger in counseling. And don't be afraid of what anybody thinks about you. How about that? This fear thing, it can go from a lizard to parents, to siblings, to jobs, to just being afraid of being alone. And guess what? If you're dealing with someone who is abusive to you, it's better to be alone. And God says, I'll never leave you nor forsake you. So even in that, you're not alone. Figure out what is making you afraid and address that thing. And I cast and bind fear. Send it back to the pit of hell where it comes from. In us all. I pray this blesses you. I love you guys. Have a happy Saturday on purpose.